WSOM Richmond.
Sound of music. I said the sound of music. I said the sound of music. Sound of music.
Hey y'all, this is Bruce Smith, live from Sound and Music with our weekly Wednesday at 6 music show. Tonight, our guest is a man who has entertained more people and played music with more people than anyone I know. Drummer extraordinaire, Bob Saydlowski. How are you, Bob?
Hey, Bruce. How are you, man?
I'm apparently enthusiastic and caffeinated today.
Yes, you are.
So, we'll get that sad stuff out of the way first. So let me ask you, how has this whole COVID thing and shutdown affected your music?
Oh, well, so I can tell you this, that the last gig that I played was March 10th. And
Goodness.
Then it all shut down and it all canceled. So I have done one gig. I subbed with somebody out in a restaurant, at a patio, out in the fan, at the end of June, and I did one other gig outside at Lake Anna like 2 weeks ago. Other than that, it's been nothing. So far, I have looked at my calendar and I've lost like 32 shows already. So yeah, you know.
Yeah, and see, this is, if you check Bob's website, which I encourage you to do, of course. Bob's worked with me on a little Hendrix project a couple of times, and I would be looking at when we could book a show, and I would look at his calendar, and it would be freaking slammed. So if Bob Saydlowski's not playing music, then stuff's going on.
Yeah. So so between now and the rest of the year, I have one show on the calendar. New Year's Eve, I found out a couple weeks ago, it's been canceled.
Oh.
So, hey, sorry kids, ain't gonna be any New Year's Eve this year, but.
Now, I think you need to fix that on your calendar because I did look earlier today.
On the web calendar.
Yeah, the web calendar.
Yeah, I'll fix that.
So, well, given that you haven't been able to get out and play, where have you focused your musicality instead?
Well, you know, so I have a story for you, Bruce.
Go ahead, man.
In the lockdown, like I'm sitting at home and sitting at home and sitting at home, and so one day I was sitting at my kitchen table, and I'm eating lunch, and I'm looking at, at the little can, of the tuna that I'm eating. I went, this kind of looks like a drum, kind of, sort of. I went, so what would happen if I wrapped a drum?
What would happen?
To look like bumblebee tuna salad, and so I got with a sign shop in town, and we created this. It's tuna salad drum.
That is so cool. And what is the tuna sound?
The tuna sounds just like a snare drum. I mean, it sounds perfect.
And looks fabulous. It's kind of like kind of Warholish, stealing art to use in an unexpected medium.
Right, yeah. So we did that one, and I was like, maybe I will do a whole kit.
Oh.
So I went in the pantry and said, hey, what do I have? And like, oh, I have Chef Boyardee beefaroni. So I scanned that label and sent it over to my friends at the sign shop, and we wrapped a 13-inch tom to look like a Chef Boyardee beefaroni can. So I've that one done, and I've also done like 2 other pieces of the kit. I took a photo of it and I posted it, out on the internet, and lo and behold, the kit photo has gone viral. A friend of mine posted it on his page and got 6,000 likes.
Goodness gracious.
And I'm like, oh no, what have I done? But so I've been doing that.
Well, you'll probably be hearing from a food company's lawyer very soon.
Well, actually, Chef Boyardee saw the photo of the kit, and about a month ago, and they sent me a message and said, we want to send you a case of Chef Boyardee beefaroni, I'm like, hell, bring it on,
And
you know?
and the
Hell,
food
dinner
that,
for a month.
the food that stores forever during a plague.
Exactly, right? So, hey, you know, I'm good.
Good, man.
Hell, I'm good for, you know, a while.
What's that last one down there you have?
Oh, so the last one, make sure my mic doesn't fall off. This is another idea, you know, because I'm a child of the 70s, and I'm like, how about tie-dye drums?
Oh my goodness.
So I found a tie-dye pattern and scanned it and so on and so forth and took it over to the sign shop, and it's a tie-dye tom-tom. And I just keep going with these stupid ideas. I don't know why.
What was the name of that? What was the name of that helpful sign shop again?
Oh, Speed Pro Imaging RVA.
Keep them in mind.
Exactly. You know, if you need wraps or something, they will do it.
Cool. So I know that you have played, and check out Bob's website, many artists, but who are some of your favorite artists you've had the chance to drum with?
Well, I would have to say first and foremost it would be you, Bruce. But,
Well, all those whole two shows.
well, yeah, right, man. And you know, so I did tour back in the late '70s with Joe Beck.
Famous guitar player.
Yes, absolutely. Joe has passed on, but yeah. So we toured in '78 for about 4 or 5 months. Also played at a club in Woodstock, so it was like, yeah, woo, cool. and was on that gig at the end of the gig where we're staying overnight. And we woke up the next morning, and all of the band gear in the truck was all stolen.
Of course.
You know, out of Woodstock.
Happy little town.
Yeah, right. So at that point, Joe just said, "Fuck it, I'm done." You know, and that was the end of the gig.
Really?
Yeah, we were finished. You know, we
Now-
didn't have any more gear.
Now, I'll
all
just
done.
make sure everybody knows we're talking about Joe Beck, not
Yes.
Jeff Beck. But Joe Beck did have a pretty high rep and was in the guitar magazines for a while. Was he more of a jazz fusion guy,
Yeah.
or how would you describe it?
Yeah, well, yeah, you know, Joe had started off as a jazz player, and then he migrated into, into the jazz rock stuff. Like 1976, 77. He did have an album out. It was on Polydor Records. Watch the Time was what the name of that album was, and so then we also recorded at Sound Ideas Studio in Manhattan. It's like on 46th Street, or something like that. I can't remember. But yeah, and so I still have all those demos.
Cool.
I have everything. I keep everything.
Now, I saw you play. Could you tell us your Christopher Cross story, please?
So the Christopher Cross story. Back in the early '80s, I think it was. So I was in a house band at a resort in Western Massachusetts. And Christopher Cross used to hang out there. So one night, we all saw him out there, and lo and behold, he walked up on stage, and he sang with us. What was his big hit? Ride Like the Wind.
Yes, that's it.
And so we did that. And then he came back the next day, and he sat in again. And then he came back at the resort like 6 months later, and he sat in again. And I have photos, and so yes, it did happen. I played with him. Woo.
So now I'm going to tell you a Christopher Cross story that I bet you don't know.
Sure, go ahead.
So for those, Christopher Cross, if you don't remember, kind of had a middle of the road album career, kind of soft rock music, had some big hits. A lot of people don't, and he was kind of this big, cuddly, pudgy guy with kind of curls, not a heartthrob, but he initially started out, he was a hot guitar player in Texas. And around 70 or 71, Deep Purple were touring through Texas, and Richie Blackmore got sick. And Christopher Cross filled in with him for him for one show in Texas.
Really?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Seriously, he was that good.
So is it true that he changed his name and that's not his real name?
Oh, I don't care enough about him to know that.
Oh, okay.
But I just know, I knew the Deep Purple story because I like Deep Purple. So
That's
yeah.
a good one, though.
So yeah, that is. A good
I did
one.
not know that. So yeah.
Apparently, he was a hot guitar player on the scene down in Austin at that time. So
Right. Yeah.
who are some of your bands that? I mean, I know there are many, and you've enjoyed them all, of course. But who are some of your have been some of your favorite people to play with in the Richmond area?
In the Richmond area, so I did join with a wedding band. Well, actually based in Charlottesville, but like half the band was out of Richmond. Big Ray and the Cool Cats is the name of the band. It was like a 12-piece band, with a horn section, and singers out front. And I was in that band for about 3 years, from like 2015 to 2018. I had subbed, and all of that, but, I was a member, then. And I got to tell you, everyone in that band was just killer players. Every single one of them. The singers, the horn players, all the rhythm section. Yeah. And like we had done gigs as far north as Manhattan, as far south as like Savannah, Georgia.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, all the tuxedo stuff. But hey, that's okay. I don't mind a tux every once in a while.
Now, let me ask you here, as like someone who's done like until the last few years almost always original music for the most part. So when you go out with an original music band, you're there to play and hopefully people like it, but if they're annoyed, you're okay with that too because you're making an impression. What's the mindset difference when you're playing in a band that everybody's supposed to enjoy?
Well, the mindset is learn all the tunes, learn all the right parts of the tunes, and if it sounds right, then everyone loves it, when they have a great time. If you mess around with it, then
So it's a more professional atmosphere than, when we stumble around on the stage at Banditos and stuff.
Yes. So in that band, we were known for starting a gig. Well, there was one gig that I can remember now that the band played for, I think it was 4.5 hours straight with no stops in between songs and no breaks in between sets. It was okay, start the clock and just and go for like 4.5 or 5 hours.
Wow. When
When I was done, man, I'll tell you, hell, I was hurting.
But
My butt was like totally numb, and yeah.
So it sounds like this is fun because you're playing with good musicians, but also it has an element of I gots to get paid.
Yes, absolutely. The pay, yes, it definitely helps.
So tell me a little bit about Blues Flash.
Blues Flash. So I joined them 5 or 6 years ago. They and they probably did like 40 shows a month or something. It was a 4-piece band, and it was a blues band, of course. And I was with them for the past 4 or 5 years, and I recently left them, as a matter of fact.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. So so I'm available.
Oh well.
I'm looking.
We know lots of people. We'll hook you up.
All right. Cool.
So, through the conversation so far and my previous interactions with you, you've shown yourself to be a highly intelligent person. What made you want to start hitting things with sticks? What was your inspiration to start drumming?
Okay. It is the usual story that you probably hear from guys, right around my age, where I was a young kid. I was in the living room with mom and dad. It was a Sunday night. It was the Ed Sullivan Show, and the Beatles were on the Sullivan Show for the first time. So I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm watching Ringo, and I'm like, I want to do that. I want to do that. And so I did. And that's what started it.
And you kept doing it more than 1 year like most people did.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I had started, I think, at the age of probably 10. And my first band, I was 13. And I still have tapes of that band.
Wow.
Which are, woo. Yeah, and I've been playing, ever since. So I'm probably, like at the 50th anniversary or something almost.
Now, something I'm kind of interested in, because I can play some like elementary garage band level drums. It's not my thing, but I can play a little bit and kind of see what's going on. And I kind of want to get your view on the drummer's role in a band, or at least a non-singing drummer's role in the band. Because I noticed when I play drums with a band, I feel like I'm listening to everybody else, whereas when I do my usual thing, play lead guitar and sing, I want to know that the people under me are solid so I can fly, but I'm paying attention to me.
Right.
So how do you kind of see that whole dynamic? Is it different for you, or how do you see it?
Right. So the band is the bus, right? Mm-hmm. And the drummer is the driver of that bus, right? We can go this way, we can go that way, we can go a little fast, we can lay it back a little bit, right? We are responsible for all the time and the feel, of all the music itself.
Well, and the truism is that it doesn't matter if you're Paul McCartney or if your drummer sucks, you suck.
Exactly, right?
So I've been pretty lucky with drummers, so I'm probably one of the more fortunate ones. I can't remember any that were bad. There were some who were better than others. But so let me ask you something else. We met because I decided on the spur of the moment that I wanted to do like a Hendrix tribute, which we called Manic Obsession. Maybe we'll do it again next year.
Yeah,
People seem to like it, but I remember you came in and you knew the songs better than I did. And were able to give me direction and help me out.
Right. And I can tell you why, too. Because the first rock and roll album that I ever bought in my life was Jimi Hendrix Experience, Are You Experienced? I bought it brand new, 1967, and I still have it, too. So, yes.
Well, that does explain
I know
a few
all those
things.
Hendrix songs, backwards and forwards.
But I do know you do that with other people. I mean, do you do I know you can just kind of, you've played a lot and know a lot of songs, but you do sub situations. What's your mindset for that? Do you say, hey, what's the set list, or?
Yeah, so when I sub on a gig, so I want a set list in advance, and then I'll go out and I'll find all the tunes, and then I'll listen to the tunes, but as I'm listening to them, I will make little tiny note cards, right? With the name of the tune and the feel, and the tempo, and I'll write it out also.
Cool.
Yeah, so I have lots of those note cards because I keep them all.
Wow. Like recipes.
Right, yes. And they're sitting at home in the kitchen in a drawer. And if you stacked them up, those note cards would probably be about this tall. It's like individual songs. So, yeah. If I need them again, I can just kind of file through and go, oh, yeah, this song, this song, this song. I don't have to write it out again.
Oh, I'm not that diligent, but I do admire you for that.
Well, thank you.
So I noticed, checking your backstory again, because I'm always prepared. Here at Live from Sound of Music, I'm Bruce, your host. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can see all the wonderful musical artists we've done. I think we've had like 12 shows so far. And we're here tonight with Bob Saydlowski at the wonderful Sound of Music Studios. We are way socially distanced. I'm in the control room. Bob's about 100 yards away on the stage.
Yeah, you are so far away. I'm like, hello, Bruce.
Yeah, it's a good thing we have an easy rapport so we can work through these hardships.
Exactly, man.
So I noticed...
There's a virus out there,
Yeah, well,
yeah,
I wish everybody would remember that. I saw that, I'll just go sidetrack here, that a certain place in Mechanicsville got shut down by the health department for being really silly about how they were treating the whole situation. But I don't name names, we'll just leave it at that. It's possibly, though, might be named after a famous naval battle in World War II. But anyway, I'm sorry. Anyway, so I noticed, back to the subject at hand, that you had a past association writing for Modern Drummer. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, so it really all started before that, where I used to read, what's the name of that? It was a musician magazine out of the UK.
Okay.
And they would do reviews, of the product. And I was just reading the reviews. I'm going, hey, I can do that. So I wrote one article up, sent it to this little tiny musicians magazine that was out in Boston, Massachusetts, and they accepted it, and they published it.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'll do a second one, and then I said, I can go a little bigger. So got in touch with the folks over at MD and sent them an article, and they liked it. They published it, and then I started writing all of the reviews of product for Modern Drummer magazine from 1979 to like 1989.
So
out of my house, on my kitchen table, on a typewriter. That's how long ago it was.
and that was kind of the interesting era now that it's cool that we have so much access to information and communication. But back then, and I know this myself from other things, that back then, if you just got off your butt and sent a letter sometimes, you could actually get results. If you just
absolutely
put the effort in, it was kind of interesting. But
so another thing, with all the letter writing, as you were talking about. So my ultimate goal in life, in the music world, was to play in Frank Zappa's band.
Oh,
right?
yes.
I wanted that gig. Oh man, boy did I, right? So, excuse me. So back in 1981, I got in touch with Steve Vai, who was in Frank's band at the time.
He was probably like 16.
Steve was like 18, I think then. and I wrote him a letter, and then he wrote me back, and then we kept exchanging letters throughout like 1981, 1982. Steve also sent me a bunch of the Zappa charts.
Wow.
The drum charts, which I still have. And so I learned all the charts. I made a cassette tape. I sent it out to Steve, and he never got it. Now, of course, this was way back, where you didn't have a copy of something. It was like a one-off. I sent it in the mail, and we never got it. And then of course Frank did pass away in '93. So end of dream.
But you made the effort.
Yeah, right.
So you can say you did.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna take a tangent here. So, what is your favorite Zappa album and why?
Oh man.
You have to pick.
Oh God, you're killing me. I will say Roxy and Elsewhere. It was 1974. It was recorded live at the Roxy in Chester Thompson was one of the drummers, and Ralph Humphrey was the other drummer, and they were just killing it. The polyrhythms and yep. That's my favorite one.
Okay, good quick answer there.
Thank you.
So, let me gather myself here. You got me starstruck with the Zappa stuff.
So I will also say that I do have every single Frank Zappa album on vinyl.
Wow.
I have every one, yeah. And I also have it on tape, and I have it on CD.
Do you have a record player?
Yes, I do.
Oh, because a lot of people get vinyl and don't actually have a record player.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So I also saw that you were a rep for Sonar Drums.
Yes. So
Who did you get to meet?
Oh, wow. So now let me
dropping.
start at the beginning. So I was living in Western Massachusetts. I was born and raised there. And through the magazine writing, I would meet, a lot of people. So one day I got a phone call from a gentleman who worked over at Sonar Drums, which was handled by Korg at the time. And he asked me, would I want to work for them? I was like, sure, why not, right? So I packed up everything and moved to Westbury, Long Island. This was in '89. And worked for Sonar Drums. Sonar Drums then got bought out, and they moved here to Richmond in '91, and and I went with it, and that's how I got here. Was the Sonar thing. But so I used to work with all of the artists. Chester Thompson, Nico McBrain, Steve Smith, Will Calhoun,
Living Color.
Yeah, Johnny Tempesta, who is with the Cult now.
Okay.
Like a lot of rock guys. And so I was at Sonar, from '89 to like '95.
Who was the nicest one?
All of them are nice guys. Okay. Every single one of those guys, yeah. In fact, Chester Thompson just sent me a text message like a week ago. I haven't talked to Chester in, like 10 years.
Wow.
I heard from, I was like, Chester, man, hey, what's going on? He's going, hey, Bob, how are you? I'm like, well, see, so, yeah. All the relationship stuff, it's a good bond.
Okay, I'm going to change direction because there was one question I forgot to ask about when you were at Modern Drummer.
Sure.
So I always kind of want to know, I think I know how it works now. I think it's mostly like be poly-positive all the time if you're a reviewer. But back then, were you under any pressure when you wrote the reviews to be nice at all because of people advertising in the magazine?
No, not at all. No.
Good.
Nope. But I will say that I did write one scathing product review. I won't mention what the product was, and they never ran it. But, besides that, no, I would call it right down the middle.
Because I generally feel like, from what I see dealing with promotion for bands these days, that most of the time, if you've paid for an advertisement, they're going to go gentle on you.
Yeah, nope.
Because they're fighting really hard for ad dollars now with the, I got to compete with 20,000, internet sites as opposed to 10 magazines at the newsstand like it was for a long time.
Right.
So something, and you've helped me with this, but I know, and you've worked at the studio here before on various projects, session drumming. Mm-hmm. So what is the mindset with that? And how do you prepare or
right.
How do you handle that?
So let's see, how do you prepare?
Or what's the mindset?
So you don't.
Different to live music, I don't know.
Well, yeah.
So you don't prepare?
No, you don't, because 9 times out of 10, you're going to walk into the studio and you're not going to know what the song is, or the project is. So, one of the skills that you really have to have is you have to be able to listen very quickly, right?
Listen quickly.
Yep. And then you retain. And then you go out there and you try to do it on the first take. Why? Because time is money. And if you're sitting there, it's like take after take after take after take, and the clock is, it's starting to tick, and the money is starting to go up. Yeah.
Well, and everybody's waiting on that drum track because you can't proceed until you have the drum track.
Exactly, and that might be the setup for your last studio session ever. So, yeah, it's got to work fast. Yeah.
Do you read charts sometimes when
Yep.
you do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Sure. So I can read charts, or I can write them out. As a roadmap, sort of thing on the song. But yeah, it definitely helps. All the tools in the toolbox, I think.
Now, something I mentioned to you before we started that I was kind of interested in, you are a bit older than me, not much, but a bit.
Nice, thanks.
And I feel like there's a difference between musicians who, and I think it applies to every era, so I'm not making a value judgment, I'm just saying things are different. But there's differences in musicians who came up in what I consider your era, my era, and the two eras that came after that. And I feel like one thing that was helpful with musicians of your era especially, and somewhat of mine, but is that there were a lot of places to play and a lot of gigs to play, and I feel like you got to play more.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, and that's was helpful towards developing musicianship and creativity.
Right, right,
What
absolutely.
changes have you seen, that contradict me or however you feel about it?
Right, okay. Like way back when, because I'm such an old guy.
I didn't say
Yeah,
that.
right, Bruce, thanks. So I was in that house band, at the resort, and it would be very common for that band, which I was in maybe like 4 or 5 years' time, to do like 250 shows a year,
Wow.
at the resort. That doesn't happen nowadays, right? But, so at home, I have a book. It is handwritten that I've been keeping since like 1970. And this book lists every single gig,
Wow.
right, I have ever done. And
Big book? Big book?
It's
I think it's a big book.
yeah, it's like
Tell the story.
90. It's like 90 pages maybe now. Like it's handwritten, on the lined paper, and it lists the so it lists date and the band and the venue and the pay. So I can look back in that book, and I can tell you this, that what I was making in a 6-piece rock band in Western Mass in 1977 is probably about the same money as you're making nowadays, on a local gig, like a bar or, So it's like, all right, so in 1977, like a car cost what? When your rent was what? And gas was what? And food was what? But there's like something way, it's like off balance. Because if I was making $125 for a gig back in '77, that $125 in the current day dollars is worth,
A lot less.
Oh, well, yeah. So what's going on here?
Now,
I'd love the answer.
well,
because I can't figure
I
it out.
can give you some answer because I've thought about this.
It's all NASP. Yeah.
Because
sure. Go ahead.
I think I'll just give you my spiel, and people can be angry about it or not. They may not care what I say. But anyway, I think part of it is competition for entertainment dollars, because back around 1980, I could go see a sporting event. We only had 3 TV channels. I could watch my 3 TV channels, go to a sporting event, high school football game, college football game, whatever, go to a movie, stay home, or go see a show or read a book. So there weren't many. Now you can be at home writing your own song with a computer program. You can play video games. You've got DJ culture's a lot bigger than it was then as far as that.
Yes.
There are many more sports, and there's just a lot of competition for people's brain space, and I think that is part of it. It doesn't necessarily explain the dollar difference, though, because I can remember going, a lot of times I'm paying pretty much the same door fee that I was in 1983.
Right. Yeah.
Some of it, I think, is also musicians devaluing themselves and going, well, I just want exposure. I'll go ahead. And if music's
It's those exposure bucks.
yeah, well,
Yeah,
if you're just doing music for fun, that's great. Don't worry about that. That's totally valid. But as far as some people who used to go out and play shows, and there probably were more places to play and all whatever, but I think some of it also has to do with we'll just pay, we'll take the $25 and we'll just play. We just want to play. Or, God bless it, there's a lot of good causes, but I also think that there are a heck of a lot of benefits more than there used to be, and that's fine, but I'm saying you can see a lot of music for free. So as a consumer, so unless your brewery is paying the band, where you might do pretty well or something, I think musicians do devalue. Like, I don't even know if there's a musicians union in Richmond anymore.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that there is, but
maybe for high-tone session people.
Well, yeah, right. Because I was in the musicians union in Western Mass. It was Local 109.
Yeah.
And I was actually on the board.
Wow.
Of the union.
The things I learn about you.
I know, right?
Did you take bribes?
No.
Okay.
No, he did not. Yeah, but when I moved here, there was no sort of talk, on a union, or union card or any of that kind of stuff. So, so then let me ask you, so do you think that those guys who are doing the gigs for little teeny weeny money, why would a venue want to hire someone else, right, if they can get away with that cheapo the cheapo band?
Well, I mean, it's always going to be based on how many people you bring too, so it doesn't necessarily, and that's fine. I mean, when you're younger, you can get all your friends to come out, and then you find at a certain point, once everybody has kids, that you can't count on that.
Sure, no one goes out.
That's just generational and part of it. But I do think music is a lot more valued in, say, European countries and perhaps other parts of the world than it is. I think it's a little more, not by everybody, but I'm just saying there's a lot of competition for entertainment dollars as part of it. And, I think some people overplay for not much reward, and that drives down maybe what people who want to make it doing a living can do.
Yeah.
Then people will say, "Well, just move to Europe." So that's valid too.
Yeah. However,
I don't have an answer.
Well, yeah, but we can't move to Europe because they won't let Americans in right now.
Well, there is
but
that.
anyways, so I digress. I'm sort of the thought that it all started when file sharing started up, and so it's like, why should I have to pay for my music? I can download it, I can pirate it, off of Napster and and all that stuff that started up, so the value, it was here, and now it's down to here because, I don't have to pay for this music. Come on. I can go to YouTube, I can find all the songs, I can download anything. I don't have to pay for a live band. What?
Well, and once again, we're here live from Sound of Music with drummer Bob Saydlowski. I'm Bruce, your host, every Wednesday at 6, except next week we're taking off. And tonight, even though many of our points are valid, we're having the grumpy old man night and having fun with it, aren't we, Bob?
Yes, we are, because we're saying, this is what's wrong, kids, fix it.
Yeah, well, but there are a lot of opportunities now, too, about getting your music, not worrying about record companies, and sell your T-shirts. You can make money doing that.
Right, absolutely.
Maybe get a
YouTube
movie
videos,
YouTube
videos, and and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So there's a lot
of guys making
there's
a lot
of
money.
opportunities where there's not a gatekeeper anymore. Where I have to get on a major label or something like that, or even a big independent now. It's just like, I'm my own big independent, and I think that's pretty cool too.
Right.
So I mean, we are like saying, I still think music's devalued, but there are also a lot of opportunities. I could be wrong.
No, I agree.
But maybe I'm not. I don't know.
It's a new world.
It's a new world.
Yeah.
And
It's all shifted.
I won't be around for much more of it, so it doesn't matter. My kid can worry about this playing his stuff.
Yeah, right.
So we're going to wrap up here. We've had a really good 35 or 40 minutes. So I want to ask you, I'm probably going to know the answer.
Go ahead.
But where do you see, where you think you'll be next? I don't know, spring with music. What do you think you'll be doing? What do you think will be going on?
Yeah, well, hopefully they will get rid of this virus deal somehow. And then life will kind of, it will shift back, and there'll be gigs and there'll be bands and everyone will be happy and, and all that. So yeah, that is what I'm hoping for. Now, I will let you in on a little secret there, Bruce. So I have been talking to this band that is forming, and they are managed, and so on and so forth. And we have a rehearsal, our first one next week.
You don't tell.
And we're going to see how it goes. And if it goes well, then they say all the gigs will start up after the first of the year. So I'm like, yeah, bring it on.
Bring it on.
So yeah, I sure hope so.
So, yeah, I've always, or we may be having a new basement band called Anti-Vaxxers or something, because who knows what's going to happen. But anyway, well, Bob, I'd like to thank you for being on here live from Sound of Music. I'm your host, Bruce. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll see you in 2 weeks with another exciting guest.
Hey, thanks for having me, Bruce.
You're most welcome.
WSOM Richmond.
Sound of music. I said the sound of music. I said the sound of music. The sound of music.
WSOM Richmond.